Shock and disbelief ripped through the Ocampa research team as proof of ancient human civilization lay strewn before them, deep in uncharted space. Jerry Phillips, the sole human archaeologist, felt his jaw unhinge at the magnitude of the discovery. Ruins undeniably similar to Earth's, yet on a planet light years away that had never known mankind's touch. Only minutes earlier, Jerry had emerged from cryosleep, his expertise in xenoarchaeology specifically requested for this groundbreaking Ocampa expedition. Captain Karros himself had explained their mission to explore Ocamp 4, a remote world believed to cradle the lost secrets of the progenitors, a civilization said to have seeded the cosmos itself eons ago. But nothing could have prepared Jerry for this. The Oz Karros settled near an energy signatures source, a staggering ruins complex sprawling over 100 square kilometers. Jerry, Karros, and a hand-picked squad of Ocampa scientists, clad in protective gear, ventured into the ruins' heart, a colossal pyramid defying both age and origins. Designs hauntingly echoing the Maya and Egyptians riddled the structure, and deep within, among glyphs and inexplicably functional relics, Jerry uncovered the unthinkable, ancient Sanskrit, an earth tongue that had no place here. If Jerry and the Ocampa team failed to prove a link between the progenitors and mankind's ancestors, this history-altering truth could be lost forever to the star's unforgiving depths. Humanity unknowingly stood at the precipice of its greatest discovery or its greatest despair. Jerry wiped the sweat from his eyes as he translated more of the Sanskrit glyphs carved into the ruins. His eyes widened at what he read. The progenitors were no aliens, but an ancient human civilization. Millions of years ago, they had mastered interstellar travel and fled Earth to escape some terrible catastrophe. Their mission, to seed human life across the galaxy. "Captain, you need to see this," Jerry called out. "The progenitors, they were humans, our ancestors." Karros and the Ocampa team gathered around, doubt written on their faces as Jerry explained his discovery. But as they explored further, the evidence mounted. They entered a vast chamber lined with rows of stasis pods. Inside each was the preserved body of a progenitor. Dr. Neelix took DNA samples, his analyzer beeping with the results. "By the spirits, he's right. The genetic profile is a close match to humans from Earth." Deeper in the heart of the ruins, they discovered a central control room. Jerry approached the dark screens, his fingers flying over the alien controls. Suddenly, the room hummed to life as a holographic figure materialized before them. "Greetings. I am Prometheus, artificial intelligence of the progenitors," the translucent blue form spoke. "If you are seeing this message, then our mission was a success. We have seeded many worlds with human life, including your Ocampa homeworld." The team listened in stunned silence as Prometheus recounted the progenitors' history and purpose. But the AI's tone turned grave. "I must also be warned. The Zorgath, an enemy that once sought our destruction, now aims to eradicate all human life sown among the stars. You must unite your peoples against this threat, or all our efforts will have been in vain." Just as Prometheus's dire message concluded, a plasma blast rocked the control room. Zorgath infiltrators burst in, all sharp edges and hate firing upon the team. Dr. Neelix crumpled, a smoking hole in his chest. Jerry cried out as searing pain tore through his abdomen. Karros grabbed Jerry, dragging him back to the Orcs Karros as the Ocampa team laid down covering fire. They barely made it aboard before more Zorgath ships descended, bombarding the ancient ruins into oblivion. As Jerry slipped into the embrace of a medical stasis pod, he prayed that the progenitor's legacy would not be lost. As the Ors Karros raced through the stars, Jerry lay in the medical bay, hovering between life and death. Captain Karros paced the bridge, his mind whirling with the implications of their discovery and the looming Zorgath threat. He turned to his first officer, his voice heavy with urgency. "Set a course for Ocamp. We need to inform the High Council of what we've found and get Jerry the medical attention he needs." In the ship's research lab, The remaining Ocampa scientists pored over the data collected from the progenitor ruins. Dr. Tanis, a brilliant xenotechnologist, called out to her colleagues, her eyes wide with excitement. "Look at this. The progenitors had developed advanced weaponry and shielding technology specifically designed to combat the Zorgath. If we can understand and replicate this technology, we might stand a chance against them." Dr. Kiz, a senior researcher, shook her head grimly. But even with their advanced technology, the progenitors were ultimately overwhelmed by the Zorgath's superior numbers. We must find a way to unite our forces if we hope to survive. As the ORS Karos entered Ocamp's orbit, Captain Karos prepared to address the High Council. He stood before the august body, his voice ringing with conviction as he presented the evidence of the progenitors' human origins and the impending Zorgath invasion. Supreme Councillor Janice leaned forward, her brow furrowed with concern. "This is, difficult to accept. Our people have long believed that we were the first and only intelligent life in the galaxy. To learn that we were seeded by an ancient human civilization challenges the very core of our beliefs." Karos met her gaze unflinchingly. "I understand your reservations, Councillor, but the evidence is clear and the threat is real. We must act now if we are to have any hope of survival." After a tense deliberation, the High Council agreed to send a delegation to Earth, led by Karos and Dr. Tanis, to warn the humans of the Zorgath threat and propose an alliance. As the delegation prepared for their journey, Jerry underwent intensive treatment by Ocampa medical specialists. Advanced regenerative technology knitted his wounds and restored his strength, but the process was slow and painful. Dr. Kess sat by his bedside, her gentle voice soothing his fears. "You're making good progress, Jerry. The regenerative treatments are working, but it will take time. In the meantime, let me tell you about our people and our history." Over the next few weeks, as Jerry recovered, he immersed himself in Ocampa culture, learning their customs and beliefs. He also began training with Ocampa security forces, mastering their advanced combat techniques and weapons technology. When the delegation finally reached Earth, they were met with a mixture of wonder and apprehension. The President of the United Earth Government, UEG, flanked by her top advisors, greeted the Ocampa with a guarded expression. "Welcome to Earth, Captain Karos. I must admit your claims are difficult to believe. An ancient human civilization seeding the galaxy with life, a hostile alien race bent on our destruction. It all seems rather far-fetched." Karos stepped forward, his voice steady. "I understand your skepticism, Madam President, but we have evidence to support our claims, and the threat is very real. We come to warn you and to propose an alliance between our peoples." As the President and her advisors debated the Ocampa's claims, Jerry's father, Admiral Jack Phillips of the UEG Space Fleet, pulled Karos aside. "I believe you, Captain, and I think this alliance is our best hope for survival. Let me arrange a secret meeting between your delegation and some of our top officials. We need to act quickly if we're going to have any chance of stopping the Zorgath." The meeting was arranged on a remote space station, far from prying eyes. As the negotiations began, the station's alarms suddenly blared to life. A Zorgath stealth ship had breached the station's defenses, catching both the humans and Ocampa off guard. Jerry leaped into action, rallying a team of Ocampa security personnel to repel the attackers. They fought bravely, using their advanced weaponry and combat training to hold off the Zorgath borders. But the Zorgath were relentless, and their weapons cut through the station's defenders like a scythe through wheat. Jerry watched in horror as several key human leaders fell, their bodies riddled with plasma burns. And then he saw his father, Admiral Phillips, locked in combat with a massive Zorgath warrior. The alien's blade flashed, and the Admiral crumpled to the deck, his lifeblood pooling beneath him. Jerry let out a wordless cry of rage and grief, charging the Zorgath with a fury born of desperation. His weapons blazed, cutting down the alien invaders with ruthless efficiency. But even as the last Zorgath fell, Jerry knew that the battle was far from over. The attack had served as a grim reminder of the Zorgath's power, and their determination to eradicate all human life in the galaxy. As the smoke cleared and the wounded were tended to, the remaining human officials gathered around Jerry, their faces grim with resolve. The President stepped forward, her voice heavy with sorrow and determination. "We have seen the face of our enemy and we know the stakes. The Zorgath will not rest until every last one of us is dead. We must stand together, humans and Ocampa, if we are to have any hope of survival. From this day forward, we are allies in the fight against the Zorgath menace." Jerry nodded, his heart heavy with the weight of his father's sacrifice. He knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, fraught with danger and uncertainty. But he also knew that they had no choice but to fight, to stand together against the darkness that threatened to consume them all. And so, as the alliance between humans and Ocampa was forged in the fire of battle, Jerry prepared himself for the long and difficult struggle ahead. He would honor his father's memory, and he would fight with every ounce of strength and courage he possessed. For the fate of the galaxy itself hung in the balance, and failure was not an option. In the days following the Zorgath attack on the space station, the UEG and Ocampa High Council worked tirelessly to formalize their alliance. Diplomats and military leaders from both sides met in marathon negotiation sessions, hammering out the details of their joint defense pact. Resources were pooled, knowledge shared, and a new sense of purpose emerged, a united front against the Zorgath threat. As the dust settled, Jerry found himself at the center of this new alliance. Fully recovered from his injuries and hailed as a hero by both humans and Ocampa, he was appointed as the official liaison between the two species. It was a role he embraced with a fierce determination, driven by the memory of his father's sacrifice and the knowledge that the fate of the galaxy rested on their success. Jerry worked closely with Karos and the Ocampa research team, poring over the data collected from the progenitor ruins. They studied the ancient technology with a newfound urgency, seeking to unlock its secrets and develop new weapons and defenses against the Zorgath. Long hours were spent in the lab, analyzing schematics and testing prototypes, fueled by a shared sense of purpose and the knowledge that time was running out. As the Alliance began to build its joint fleet, Jerry was given a new command, the UES Prometheus, a state-of-the-art battleship named after the AI discovered in the ruins. The ship was a marvel of engineering, combining the best of human and Ocampa technology. Its hull was reinforced with progenitor-derived alloys, its weapons systems powered by advanced energy cores, and its shields capable of withstanding the most devastating of attacks. Jerry stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, his hand resting on the captain's chair as he surveyed his crew. A mix of human and Ocampa officers manned the stations, united in their determination to defend their worlds against the Zorgath. Karos stood at his side, his face set in a grim expression as they prepared for the battles to come. "We've come a long way," Jerry said, his voice quiet but firm, "but the real fight is just beginning." Karos nodded, his eyes fixed on the viewscreen. "We'll be ready. We have to be." As the fleet prepared for the inevitable Zorgath invasion, Jerry and Karos led a series of scouting missions to gather intelligence on the enemy. They ventured deep into contested space, probing Zorgath defenses and mapping out their supply lines. It was dangerous work, fraught with the constant threat of discovery and attack, but it was essential to the success of the Alliance. On one such mission, they stumbled upon a Zorgath slave camp on a remote moon. Hidden beneath the surface, the camp was a nightmarish place, filled with the broken bodies and shattered spirits of those the Zorgath had conquered. Among the prisoners, they found a group of progenitor descendants, captured and forced to work for their Zorgath masters. One of the prisoners, a young woman named Mara, caught Jerry's eye. There was a fire in her gaze, a defiance that refused to be extinguished despite the horrors she had endured. As they spoke, Jerry learned that Mara possessed a rare genetic trait, one that allowed her to interface directly with progenitor technology. "We have to get them out of here," Jerry said, turning to Karos. "They could be the key to unlocking the progenitor's secrets." Karos hesitated for a moment, weighing the risks against the potential rewards, but in the end he nodded, his jaw set with determination. "Let's do it." The rescue was a tense affair. A lightning strike against the Zorgath defenses, Jerry and Karos led a small team into the heart of the camp, fighting their way through the guards and freeing the prisoners. Mara fought alongside them, her eyes blazing with a fierce determination as she wielded a progenitor weapon with deadly accuracy. As they made their escape, the moon's surface erupted in a firestorm of plasma and debris. Zorgath ships descended from orbit, their weapons raking the fleeing prisoners with deadly fire. But the Prometheus was waiting, its guns blazing as it laid down a blistering barrage of covering fire. They barely made it back to the ship, the Prometheus's shield straining under the onslaught of Zorgath fire. But they had done it. They had rescued the prisoners and struck a blow against the enemy. And in Mara, they had found a new ally, one who could help them unlock the secrets of the progenitors and turn the tide of the war. Back at the Alliance headquarters, Mara proved to be a valuable asset. She worked tirelessly with the research team, using her unique abilities to interface with the progenitor technology they had recovered. Under her guidance, they made rapid progress, developing new weapons and defenses that could stand against the Zorgath onslaught. But even as they worked, the Zorgath invasion began. A massive fleet, larger than any they had ever seen, emerged from the depths of space, descending upon the Allied worlds with a fury that shook the stars. The Alliance fleet was put to the test, thrown into a series of brutal battles that pushed them to the brink of destruction. Jerry stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, his eyes fixed on the tactical display as he watched the battle unfold. Ships were destroyed, lives lost on both sides, but the Alliance held the line. They fought with a ferocity born of desperation, knowing that the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. In the heart of the battle, the Prometheus was badly damaged, its shields failing under the onslaught of Zorgath fire. Jerry knew they couldn't hold out much longer, that they had to evacuate before the ship was lost. "All hands, abandon ship," he ordered, his voice ringing out over the comm. "Get to the escape pods, now!" As the crew rushed to evacuate, Jerry and Mara fought their way through the ship, battling the Zorgath boarding parties that had breached the hull. They moved with a deadly efficiency, their weapons flashing in the smoke-filled corridors as they cut down the enemy warriors. But as they neared the escape pods, they were confronted by a massive Zorgath warrior, a towering figure of metal and flesh, enhanced with the most advanced cybernetics. The warrior's eyes glowed with a malevolent red light as it charged towards them, its blades flashing in the dim emergency lighting. Jerry met the warrior head-on, his own weapon blazing as he fought with every ounce of skill and strength he possessed. They clashed in a brutal hand-to-hand battle, trading blows that would have felled a lesser being. But even as Jerry fought, he could feel his strength waning, his body weakening under the relentless assault. In a final desperate gambit, he lunged forward, his blade finding a gap in the warrior's armor and piercing its heart. The Zorgath leader fell, its body crashing to the deck in a shower of sparks and blood, but not before it had struck a final mortal blow. Jerry stumbled back, his hand pressed to his side as he felt the warmth of his own blood spilling out between his fingers. He looked up at Mara, his vision blurring as he saw the horror and grief in her eyes. Jerry's breathing grew shallow, each labored gasp a struggle as the escape pod hurtled through the stars. Mara cradled his head, tears streaming down her face as she watched the light fade from his eyes. "Stay with me, Jerry," she pleaded, her voice raw with emotion. "We need you. The Alliance needs you." But even as she spoke, she knew it was too late. Jerry's wounds were too severe, the damage too extensive. With a final, shuddering breath, he went still, his body growing cold in her arms. Mara wept, her sobs echoing in the cramped confines of the pod. She had lost so much, her home, her family, and now the man who had become her closest friend and ally. But even in her grief, she knew that she could not let Jerry's sacrifice be in vain. With a fierce determination, Mara wiped away her tears and took the controls of the escape pod. She set a course for the nearest Alliance ship, her mind already racing with plans and strategies. She would honor Jerry's memory by taking up his mantle, by leading the fight against the Zorgath and protecting the galaxy he had given his life to save. As the pod docked with the Alliance flagship, Mara was greeted by a somber Karos and a contingent of human and Ocampa officers. They had received word of the Prometheus's destruction and Jerry's death, and their faces were etched with grief and shock. "Jerry was a hero," Karos said, his voice thick with emotion. "He gave his life for the Alliance, for all of us." Mara nodded, her jaw set with determination. "And we will honor his sacrifice by finishing what he started. We will defeat the Zorgath and protect the legacy of the progenitors." Over the next few hours, Mara worked with Karos and the Alliance leadership to plan their next move. Using her unique connection to the progenitor technology, she was able to analyze the Zorgath fleet's weaknesses and develop a daring plan of attack. "We need to strike at the heart of their command structure," she said, pointing to a holographic display of the Zorgath flagship. "If we can take out their leader, we can throw their entire fleet into disarray." Karos frowned, his brow furrowed with concern. "But their flagship is heavily defended. We'd need to get a team inside to plant a bomb, and even then, there's no guarantee of success." Mara met his gaze, her eyes blazing with determination. "I'll lead the team myself. I have the best chance of interfacing with their systems and planting the bomb." Karos opened his mouth to protest, but the look in Mara's eyes stopped him. He knew that she would not be swayed, that this was something she needed to do. "All right," he said at last. "But you're not going in alone. We'll assemble a team of our best fighters, human and Ocampa alike. You'll have all the support you need." Mara nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude and resolve. She knew that the task ahead would be dangerous, perhaps even suicidal, but she also knew that it was the only way to honor Jerry's memory and protect the galaxy he had loved. As the Alliance fleet moved into position, Mara and her team prepared for their mission. They studied schematics of the Zorgath flagship, memorized its weaknesses and entry points. They armed themselves with the most advanced weapons and technology the Alliance had to offer, including a progenitor-derived quantum singularity bomb that Mara had helped develop. When the time came, they struck with lightning speed and precision. Mara and her team infiltrated the flagship, fighting their way through waves of Zorgath warriors and drones. They moved deeper into the ship, planting charges and sabotaging systems as they went. Finally, they reached the reactor core, the heart of the flagship's power. Mara interfaced with the progenitor technology, her mind merging with the ship's systems as she planted the singularity bomb. "Charges set," she said, her voice echoing over the comm. "Everybody out now." The team raced back through the ship, fighting off the Zorgath forces that tried to stop them. They barely made it back to their own ship before the bomb detonated, the explosion ripping through the flagship like a supernova. The shockwaves slammed into the Zorgath fleet, disabling their ships and sending them careening off course. The Alliance ships pressed their advantage, picking off the enemy vessels one by one until the space around them was littered with the debris of the shattered Zorgath armada. In the aftermath of the battle, the Alliance celebrated their victory, but it was a somber affair. They had won the day, but at a terrible cost. Many lives had been lost, and the scars of the war would linger for generations. Mara stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship, watching as the stars drifted by. She thought of Jerry and all the others who had given their lives for the cause. She knew that their sacrifice would never be forgotten, that their memory would live on in the hearts and minds of all those who had fought beside them. As the Alliance began the long process of rebuilding, Mara threw herself into her new role as Supreme Commander. She worked tirelessly to strengthen their defenses, to forge new alliances with other species, and to uncover the secrets of the progenitors that could help them protect the galaxy. But even as the Alliance looked to the future, Mara could not shake the feeling that their troubles were far from over. She had seen the depths of the Zorgath's cruelty, the lengths they would go to destroy all those who opposed them, and she had heard whispers of a deeper, more sinister force at work, a shadowy entity that pulled the strings of fate from behind the scenes. Mara knew that the road ahead would be long and treacherous, fraught with danger and uncertainty, but she also knew that the Alliance would face whatever challenges lay ahead with the same courage and determination that had brought them this far. For now she would honor Jerry's memory by leading the Alliance into a brighter future, by protecting the legacy of the progenitors, and all those who had come before. And she would do so with the knowledge that, no matter what trials lay ahead, the spirit of unity and hope that had forged their alliance would never be broken. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.